Gorgeous.
Drum step. Drum step. Dancing toward us, I saw a wall of young warriors dancing toward my girl child and I, dancing toward us, drum step, drum step. Avoiding eye contact as a sign of respect, drum step, drum step. Lean, muscle torsos, blanketing in summer noon sweat. Ocean, ocean, grandmother ocean, blanketing the people with blessings, efforts, power of their sacrifice. Drum step, drum step. Dancing for the people, dancing in gratitude for the corn, dancing for the blessings of Mother Earth. Drum step. Kind polka dotted clowns, bodies painted white with basketball round black polka dots from head to toe, found missing regalia, cared for the young, the tired, the tousled. Drum step. The thirsty, the old, the lost, and the ones in fear. Drum step. Imagine if once a year we all dance. Drum step. All of us from all tribes dance. Drum step. Imagine if all of us danced in the plaza of love, the weak and the young. Drum step. And the old and the confused were not criticized or preyed upon. Drum step. But were prayed for and comforted, like the clowns of encouragement. Comforted. Drum step. Drum step. Given strawberries and snow cones. Drum step. Drum step. Given dancing, given words of encouragement by those clowns. Drum step. Drum step. Imagine all of us, dancing with ancestors' blessings just one time each year. Drum step. To remind us of Jihmye, New Mexico. Drum step. To remind us of Santo Domingo, New Mexico. Drum step. To remind us to be kind. To remind us there is only one race, one raza, the human race. To remind us we are not alone. To remind us to forgive. To remind us to love. Drum step, drum step, drum step. Imagine, if you will, that is what used to be. Drum step. What was only drum step. And now what continues here in the Fiesta of Gratitude, this festival of love, this Pueblo Indian festival. Drum step, drum step. 5 days ago, Jihmye's Pueblo drums were here. Drum step. Seashells like 10 bells, singing songs of Mother Earth and the blessings of corn. Right here, right here, right here in front of us. Welcome to Jihmye Poe. Second Sunday here at Poetry Open Mic. Usual suspects, and so good to see you. Can we give some love for Shadab's East Hashmi, who is our teacher and who is sitting right here with us? Of course, we better have Shameen. Welcome. He's in good health now. Glad to see you, sir. And so let's do a little housekeeping. If you need to use the restroom, it's right behind me on your left. The other door is a storage room. Please don't go in there. And please avail yourself to the best deli in La Mesa. And the owner, Mr. Frank Moody, is right there. United States Air Force, thank you for serving our country. And we'll be talking more about veterans later on in our time together. How this usually works is half the poets that have signed up. If you haven't signed up on this sign-up sheet, please see me after I get off the microphone. Half the poets will read. You have 2 poems for 5 minutes, and then Shadab is going to do her feature of 25 minutes. And so I've also had some people say they want to sit down. That's why this is here. So if you want me to adjust the microphone so you can sit and read, some people that are here with some pain or difficulty, so we'll take care of that. But that's pretty much how it works. If you are a musician, you are welcome. Musicians have 2 songs or 10 minutes, and we're hoping that we can get more musicians that show up. We have 4 generations that show up here because of this man. This is Jimmy Collins. And he came up to me in 2010. He said, let's start an open mic. And I went, oh, no, I don't want to deal with all those personalities. He said, no, man, we're both hungry for community. And so he said to me, all races, all countries, all sexual orientation, all genders, all abilities are welcome to Second Sunday Open Mic. We didn't call it Jimmy then. I got his permission from his widow to call it Jimmy, Jihmye. This is a hat symbolizing he's always wearing a hat, as you can see in the art. He's wearing a hat. He's always doing that. And then we have a print of his. I went down to Spanish Village because he was a painter and a poet. I went down to Spanish Village and I did a poem about him. I'm going to end with that poem today. We did a poem about him as he was working on a painting, and I saw that over his shoulder, and I said, oh man, how much is that? And he gave me a really nice discount, and so we want to have that to remind us about him. This big painting on the back wall, that's a Jimmy Collins painting, and we used to have some of this stuff over here, but Frank Moody, who's an Olitarian, he wanted the other visual artists that are around to also be able to, all these paintings are for sale. And so the books that are on the table, they're all for sale. Jimmy said we have to support our artist community. We have to support them. So if you get a chance, walk over to the table. If you see a book you like, please support our artists who are here. And we have some very, very talented people here. So it's time. Are you ready for our first poet? Yeah. All the way from London, and that's all the energy you have for him? Are you ready for our first poet? Yeah. San Diego beat poet, California beat poet, United States beat poet, and now he's the international beat poet, and he's got the best hat in the room. This is Chris Benoit.
What I like about these is that I don't like those new squash papers. So
This one's called Tonight's the Night. The lights are up, the mic is hot, the stage is set, ready for the words spoken here. The night starts here, on the stage, all the young hipsters gather around the table of dreams, snorting tomorrow through recycled straws, beat mixed with hip-hop, rap mixed with spoken word, and yesterday's rainbow, pounding it all together with poetry. I promised myself this year I'd only read new poems.
They'll be in the back.
We shall disappear into sand, where only stones survive, to tell our tales that have no names now. Time will mark our birth and our death. Our stories will be lost to the winds.
Tell them about this book. Tell them about this book.
It was printed by the Beat Poetry Society. And that's some new poems and some older poems put together.
Yes. Thank you, Chris.
thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
This lady comes to my poetry classes and she astounds me because she writes so well, but she'll give feedback to someone else who's then maybe they're a new poet and they don't have the confidence that some of us seasoned people do, and she'll give them feedback, and it's almost like she's talking to her niece or her. This is Anita Smith. Anita.
That was it.
You have a seat right there. Just the microphone for you, okay?
I'd like to give you, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to give you the choice.
So be comfortable whether how you're sitting. No dental work, please.
Don't open your mouth.
One of the poets was taken back by the fact that I remember his name. But I'm thinking about writing a poem about the fact that when I came here for the first time in August, I suddenly found myself in a garden of beautiful poets. And why wouldn't I remember the name of those flowers, right? So it might end up being a poem. I would like you to vote, and your choice. These poems, 2 poems, this thing is awfully low.
Mike's
Thank
not
you.
paid.
You know, I couldn't tie my shoes till 2nd grade. So I need help with my,
All right.
okay. These poems are in Spanish and English, and I would like you to tell me, would you like to hear the English first or the Spanish first? How many English first?
In English, yeah.
Spanish first. Oh my, okay. I want to tell you a cool thing, because when I was working on these in the 2 languages, I remembered something I learned at a teacher's conference that I had never heard any other person say. And she was like a speech expert. And she said, well, Ishmael, tell me something you did yesterday.
Care of my wife.
I took care of my wife. In English, there are 4 levels. Help, that was level 4. But Ishmael spoke 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1. I took care of my wife. And it's a Germanic language, so it has more punch than some languages. And Spanish, on the other hand, tell me something in Spanish.
Viva Mexico.
¿Dónde está el baño?
Vamos al baño. Okay, Spanish goes bum 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 bum, like music. It's a Latin language, and it's so beautiful and such a different sound. So when I was trying to translate with the help of Señor Google and several native speakers, I noticed the beauty of it. So you wanted Spanish first. This is called graffiti humano. Caminando, suelto y fácil, en el arcén, o doblado sobre fresas en Oceanside, acampado en Fallbrook debajo de las mansiones. Ellos recuerdan bailando en la plaza. Los luces, las guitarras, el olor de tamales. Los lugareños aquí los ven como manchas, imposición, borrado. Pero al igual que Banksy, dispersa imágenes con gracia, esperando ser visto con nuevos ojos. ¿Cuándo los veremos a los mexicanos entre nosotros como cuentos para escuchar y belleza para ver en lugar de graffiti humano? So the English, and remember that difference in rhythm. Human graffiti. Walking loose and easy along the shoulder or bent over strawberries in Oceanside. Camped in Fallbrook below mansions. They remember dancing in the plaza. The lights, the guitars, the scent of tamales.
Locals see them as effacements, blots, impositions. But just as Banksy scatters images with a graceful hand, waiting to be seen with new eyes, when will we see Los Mexicanos scattered among us as stories to hear, beauty to see, instead of human graffiti?
Oh, yes, yes.
This other one, I hope it doesn't make me cry. It didn't make me cry when it happened, but I was young and dumb. And now I know as a mother what it means when a young person dies. And I learned something forever about Mexico. That people are more important than things. That was a big lesson when I was 14 years old. This is called El Corazón de México. In San Jose, Peru, nuestro bus lleno de turistas llegó a un hotel con los empleados en para ellos, todo se habría detenido y sus corazones estaban adoloridos por el respeto y la pena, porque uno de sus jóvenes compañeros de trabajo había sido atropellado y asesinado accidentalmente el día anterior frente de la entrada. Pronto habría conjuros y velas de encantamiento. Yo sentí el corazón de México latiendo a lo ancho y lo profundo. En inglés, the heart of Mexico. At San Jose, Peru, our busload of tourists arrived at a hotel with employees that were deep in grief. For them, everything was paused, and their hearts were sore with their respect and their sorrow, because one of their young compañeros de trabajo had been accidentally run down and killed the day before in front of the entrance. Soon there would be solemnities, enchantments of candles. I felt Mexico's heart beating both wide and deep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Watch the wire.
I don't seem to be as strong as I once was. Hey, listen, there's one Debbie else who could throw you out here. Thank you, Alfred.
I know the Spanish too.
So can you give her some more love?
Yeah.
We have some new people come in. If you're here to read poetry, please see me, get on the sign up list. And our next poet is an international blogger and San Diego poet. And she didn't know I was going to say this, but she is my medicine sister. When I get a phone call and I see it's her, I know I'm going to feel better about something, feel worried about something, but she'll help me think out of the box because she's very, very wise. This is Dolores Fisher.
All right.
Oh my, wow. So when I get through, Jim, my brother, I'd like you to hold up the poetry anthology. I was blessed to be included
with those who talk about making good trouble. I am going to do the opposite of Chris today. I'm going to read some old poems. The first one is called Tone Poem 3. Birds who coo, coo, flutter their blue, green, orange, yellow, red wings, flight dancing beneath tree green twine canopies. They who bear witness to the tears, thousands of tears, thousands of years, thousands of souls live out troubled days on the edges of dunes. The morning to bring the star away, a morning to bring the star away. Hermione, God grant us peace, grant us courage. No rain for months. A father hunches tightly on dry mud rooftop, searching red, purple sky. He cannot stop the burning tears. Rotted fruit scorched by heedlessly hot sun draws big, hairy-legged flies with pin-prick bites. Swarming, 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 swarming around the dead. A crying child screams into the crouching, waiting night. The father choked, groans, "Amane tupe! Amane tupe! No stawe amane!" The mother sits. Bits of straw and plaster bite into her bare back. She softly chants, "Amane tupe no stawe! Amane, amane tupe no stawe! Amane." Rocks, she rocks her small, bloat-bodied son with spider arms and legs as he closes his eyes against approaching darkness. Her brown, dry-skinned, wrinkled-livered, spotted hand, gnarled off hitherly by ravenous, lingering tremble. She hums, she's humming, she hums, sings, kisses his ears, and like velvet, soft to her touch, crushing her heart. She brushes the flies, the swarming flies away. Their son, gentle, tiny, fuzzy-haired, paper-skinned, his chi tenaciously crying, echoing over shifting dunes. Silence. Listens humbly as tears continue to fall. Amani to better star away. Amani, Amani. Utupe na star away. Amani. This is another older poem. Yea, though we walk through the shadow. It cannot be, God of our weary, tear-streaked silence, you who have brought us far from lash and chains. We rage against night fists of men whose bestial lust would eat the very soul of truth from lips of newborn babes. But it is a sanguine 21st century evil pursues poetic spirit, howls and states of full-fanged frenzy. As fleshy fragments drop on wood worn from flailing chest, uncontrollably jerking on dangling arms tied to mock crucifix, as teeth splinters jut jaggedly from coagulated gum seepage into philosophical ground pools of lawful extraction.
Word.
Broken fingers wrap around broken pen, scribble pseudo-confession on scraps of blank paper in acquiescence to attitude readjustment inquisition. bruised thighs and buttocks, ache from violations, foul fluid, and acid that eats skin, muscle, bone, and spirit. Trial management tools designed for maximum efficiency and multi-use engagement with an extremely creative. Some words make laughter, bring love, distract, heal, amuse, appreciate life, God, and beauty. For poets caught in the web of political genocide, words raise high truth's blood-stained banner, blazing like Jehovah's fire in storms of deceit, betrayal, and hate. For the howling, ravenous words are weapons, chanted into waiting arms of wild wind's night-winged song, echo phantoms on oppressed lips, rebellion lullabies on oppressed ears, freedom getting up to stand in churches, funeral homes, coffee shops, offices, college campuses, street corners, playgrounds, bars, concert halls, marches, essays, blogs, Twitter. Express poems, express lullabies of love in children's bedrooms. When words are truth, the bellies of the vacuous powerful rip and slash with consuming gluttonous lies, silencing the poet, silencing the creative, silencing, gnashing and vomiting crimson innocent souls. Bellies never filled, devouring justice, ethics, morality, and all human dignity.
Right.
That was Dolores Fisher. Can we give her some more love, please? So our next poet not only kind of looks like someone that wrote Leaves of Grass. He's like Dolores, he's a performance poet. And he has a reading voice that I've been jealous of for about 25 years when he first started teaching high school history. And this is Chris Ernest Nelson. Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year and Feliz Año Nuevo, and greetings to our friends on Zoom. Good to see you all there. I am and remain Chris Ernest Nelson, and this is Purpose and Possibilities. They said I'd be born again without the burden of misdeeds or the weight of my losses. They said I'd be a babe in the body of a man with an unblemished soul to replace the old one, maimed by its errors and deformed by its doubts. All innocent and free from the scars of a long life of stumbling blindly into myself and my purpose. They said I'd be right and richly rewarded if I did what they told me, if I followed their rules, let my dark fears define me. They said I'd be safe if I kept to the path as directed. They said I'd find purpose if I read the black book and asked forgiveness from the priests of damnation. They said I'd find happiness in riches and reputation. They said nothing could hurt me if I ran with the crowd without asking questions and kept my head down. But my spirit rose up to defy their instructions, to reject
their seductions, to refuse their offer of collar and cages. My spirit rose up to demand its right to conquer my freedom, to occupy my place in a world I created, and to lead my people out of bondage. Thank you. And I will finish with my own thoughts. I am to blame, not the past. I make the world righteous or vile by the way I think. It is through my own thoughts the Spirit works the miracle of love and perfects creation. This is my journey of discovery, whether I know it or not. This is the destination toward which I am summoned. I am called by the voice of an angel to find my only self. The self is the first light that defines the refulgent horizon and unfurls its splendid banner of translucent reds and golds, its face like the sun rising out of oblivion and relentless night. I am made of God's perfect love. There is only one living thing. It exists to glorify its maker. There is only one intelligence, only one purpose for living, only one answer to prayer. All beings conceive their existence through a shared sense of knowing. Each uses its special senses, its own kind of thinking, to weave every fiber into the fabric of life, complete and comprehensible. Finding God is elemental, like feeling a breeze off the ocean, like a long nap on a quiet afternoon, like a flower turning to face the sun. Spirit is in perpetual celebration, and life is a homecoming banquet. I am to blame, not my dreams. I let the world come to me as it is, as ample consolation. In my own thoughts, I discovered everything has a reason, though it may be a silent one. Thank you very much for listening.
Bravo.
Thank you.
I was a little remiss in my introductions. I forgot to let you know about the genius that's sitting to my left, who is responsible for my 2 websites, responsible for the podcasts I have on the internet. This is Alfred Williams. And he is the reason these people are behind us. And he's also a filmmaker. And he just won an award from the Dallas Film Festival for one of his movies. And was it Paris Film Festival as well? Another award. The best actor in the film festival was from one of his movies. This is Alfred Williams, very talented man. We're going to go to the internet for a couple of poets now. And the next gentleman is coming to us from Texas. He is a professor at Baylor University. And he showed up for one particular thing from Texas. And I couldn't believe the power of his poetry, the beautiful way how he reads. This is Julio Cesar Aguilar. Julio.
Thank you very much, Jim, Alfred, and everyone. I'm going to read 2 short poems in Spanish and English. Ecos de la agonía. Fui solo sombra habitada por el desdén, por los caprichos de la luz vagante. Fructificó en mi ser la desventura y puntualmente repartí sus dones. A veces la alegría dejaba en el aire su estela. Árbol solitario, pan de la multitud, fui lo que pude. De repente todo se va muriendo. Dios, cierra los ojos y mira tu obra y compadécete de ti. Pero si soy yo el hacedor de tanto fruto estéril, mándame de una vez al infierno y olvídame. Acaba ya conmigo, Dios, tú ganas. Hoy, al borde de esta tarde, yo también me muero, para luego tal vez recomenzar. Agony's echoes. I was only a shadow sheltering disdain and the winds of wandering light. Misfortune bore fruit in me, and dutifully I shared its gifts. Sometimes joy left its vapor trail, a solitary tree, bread for the masses. I was what I could. Suddenly it is all dying out. God, close your eyes and gaze upon your work and take pity on yourself. But if I am the maker of so much sterile fruit, send me to hell once and for all. Forget me. Finish me off, Lord. You win. Today, at the edge of this afternoon, I too am dying. Perhaps then to begin anew. Día del juicio. La esperanza es fruto que ha de comer mañana el hombre. Escribes. Pero ¿qué me dices de ti? De tu hambre insatisfecha, de tu maldita miseria humana. Crees vivir y en realidad no te consta. Te engañas. Gozas imaginando un cielo enorme, aunque te quemen y resuciten las angustias del infierno. De tu infierno. Tú no sabes vivir ni morir. Te conformas con habitar los recintos de tu abnegadísimo mundo, donde solo monologan voces fantasmales. Allí permanecerás hasta el día del juicio, hasta cuando verdaderamente te mires cara a cara. Julio. Judgment Day. Hope is a fruit that men must eat tomorrow. You're right. But what do you say about yourself? About your unsatisfied hunger? About your cursed human misery? You think you live, but you really have no idea. You are deceived. You enjoy imagining a colossal heaven. Though the anguish of hell, of your hell, comes to life and charges you. You don't know how to live or die. You settle for the confines of your world of extreme self-denial, where only phantom voices drone on. There, you will remain until the judgment day, until you can truly look at yourself face to face. Julio, thank you.
Yes, Alfred. Wait. Caro, Scott, and Marie Johnson.
Thank you, Julio. We love you, man. Julio Cesar Aguilar, can we give him some more love, please? So here's another person that comes to my poetry class, and I can't call my poets that come to my poetry class my students, because like Steve Kellett says, they're all smarter than me. And this lady is really, really smart. This is Janice Alper.
Okay, I'm trying. Okay, here I am. I have two poems today in continuing my volume of Traversing the World. This is called Bastille Day, Paris, 1985. Munch flaky croissants, sip cafe au lait, stroll hand in hand on Boulevard Haussmann along the Seine, Eiffel Tower draped in red, white, and blue. A parade of cadets steps smartly along Champs-Élysées, lay a white wreath at Arc de Triomphe. Crowd sings La Marseillaise. We hum along. A thrum overhead, planes flying in formation, like a flock of gulls going home to roost. Memory of a war a lifetime ago, when I held Daddy's hand, looked up at planes in formation, blackout shades on our windows, soldiers marching smartly down our street. But that was then. This is now, Paris on Bastille Day. Dusk comes. We meander to Pont-Neuf, join the locals. Sky glitters. Fireworks blot out the moon. Thank you. And this I just have been working on the last 24 hours. It's I'm just very disturbed by all the news. It's called Safe at Home, question. I'm of the silent generation where children were seen, not heard. Our fathers and uncles, the greatest generation. We played cowboys and Indians with cap guns that popped when they worked. In Brooklyn, we didn't discuss politics, religion, or baseball. Washington, D.C., a world away, protected us. We took cover under our school desks, just in case a hydrogen bomb came across our borders. Now, almost 8 decades later, no hydrogen bomb ever hit us, but a nuclear threat is imminent. I've seen men and women walk on the moon. Washington is in my living room. Lost innocence. My faith in the system shattered like shards of pottery in an archaeological dig. People are killed every day with real guns that make a loud blast in my free country. How is it a 6-year-old boy brings a loaded gun to school, deliberately aims at his teacher, fires, injures her? Mr. McCarthy, what compromises will you make to assure safety so we don't have to take cover, not from the hydrogen bomb, but from an active shooter? I'll keep my eye on you in my living room, which I hope is still safe. Thank you.
So our next poet, there's 2 books over there that would not have happened without him. And one is an anthology of Steve Cowett's poems. And the other was called an activist poetry anthology. And when we worked on the first book, we went to Mary Cowett, Steve's widow. We asked for permission to do the book. And she said, on one condition. And we said, what's that? She said, I get to help you. And so he and I had this conversation after we got off that I guess we did that on Zoom. We talked to her on Zoom, and we said, whatever Mary wants, Mary gets. And there was not one argument during the lot of work of 2.5, 3 years it took us to put that book together. There was not one argument, because whatever Mary wanted, Mary got. And on the cover of that book is her artwork, because she told the publisher, Bill Harding, that she did some artwork. So each chapter has her artwork. And but I have to say that Joe has the logistical knowledge. He's published several books, and I really appreciate his knowledge and his wherewithal with the industry of poetry, as well as the gift he has for the heart of poetry. This is Joe Malash.
Go.
Yes.
Anything over 5'7" is wasted flesh. You know, that's just a thought.
After the feature shares, I'll have her make that.
Especially on an airplane.
My brother was pretty sick this week. In fact, he almost passed away, and I went up to see him in the hospital. And he was disappointed because when my wife, one time she was very sick and she had an out of body experience, and then my mom, before she finally passed, she had an out of body experience. So he thought he would have one, and he didn't have one. And I said to him, I said, Paul, you got to realize you just had bad timing because you chose to to almost die on the day they were giving the Pope a funeral, and heaven was closed for the day. Yeah, he would have hit me, but he was in bed with a tumor. Anyhow, that has nothing to do with this poem. You know, my wife used to tell me all the time, you know, one day someone's just going to beat you to death. So far, so good. This is called With Death Looking On. This morning, the sun rises over the foothills as I open the window curtain above the kitchen table. I look at the hummingbird feeder I installed for you. How rare it is to find a hummingbird dead and lying on the lawn beneath the feeder. But on the morning of the anniversary of your death, it lays there. The poor bird has one eye facing the light orange clouds in the pale blue sky. It has been dead long enough for the ants to find it and crawl over its feathers. Some of them gather moisture from the rim of the bird's eye. Death is kind enough to let the bird be blind to the horde feeding on it. And I think of my grief group. They tell me that after 2 years, I should move on from mourning. Still, you loved hummingbirds, and if you were here, you would cry and insist I bury it. I lay it to rest in my cell phone box. Using a clothespin, I make a cross and mount it on top of the bird's grave, which is under the blue spruce you planted in the yard. Some might say the bird dying on your death day is an awful coincidence. Others might say it's a sign and should have a special meaning. I believe the bird's death is not part of an intelligent design, nor is it a mystical sign. I believe that there's nothing sadder than death, and with death looking on, I stand near the bird's grave and wonder if it's possible to forget the pain that the dark angel gives as I watch the tree's shadow moving south. It covers the cross while the dandelions bow their buds as if they're looking for signs, like a search party searching for the lost. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the feature?
Yes.
She came all the way from Pakistan, and that's all the energy you have for her? Are you ready for the feature?
Yes.
Well, I am ready for the feature because we have really got a special treat. She's a treasure of San Diego, an absolute treasure. She's international, and one of the things, if you haven't got a copy of the San Diego Poetry Annual of this edition, she has a poem in there that are just, she's just amazing lady that she has a wonderful marriage. I've been to her house and I've seen the love. You can feel it in that place. And she's an amazing mother. She has 3 sons that she just adores. And I think that love also goes into her poems. So let me read a little bit more about her. Shadab Aziz Hashmi grew up in Peshawar, Pakistan. She graduated from Reed College in 1995 and received her MFA from Warren Wilson College. Steve Cowett also got his MFA from Warren Wilson College. Her poetry has appeared in, I got 3 lines of places she's been published. Shadab's essays on Eastern poetic forms, such as the ghazal and qasida, have been published in the Journal of Contemporary World Literature, and her essays have appeared in the Washington Post, Pakistaniyat, a journal of Pakistan studies, Knot magazine, and 3 Quarks Daily. In 2010, Poetic Matrix Press published Shadab Aziz Hashmi's book, Baker of Tarifa, which is right over there, if you're interested, which won the 2011 San Diego Book Award for Poetry. There's a whole nother paragraph, but I think you want to hear her poems. This is Shadab Aziz Hashmi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
It's so great to be here. This is a beautiful space. And so you get to hear another accent. We've heard Spanish. I want to say that I'm grateful to Jim for having carried on this tradition of the Jihmye series for so many years. Thank you so much. And also, I also want to pay tribute to Jihmye here. The spirit is very much here in this room. You all feel it. So thank you. I want to thank everyone who's here. I also want to thank our Zoom poets for being here. This is so special. So I decided to read a few poems from my first book, Baker of Tarifa. Some of you know this book. And I'm also going to read from my latest book, which came out in the year of the pandemic, 2020. And it's a memoir. So you'll hear some poems, and also you'll hear some short prose pieces. And I do have an announcement to make as well. This year, I'm hoping to teach some workshops for San Diego Writers Inc., hopefully in end of January and February. So if any of you are interested, let me know and I'll connect them to you. So I'm going to actually talk a little bit about this book before I read poems. Baker of Tarifa is a series of poems based on the convivencia, which means peaceful coexistence. So it's a series of poems that covers 800 years of this legendary peaceful coexistence in Spain. The other name for that time and place is Al-Andalus, that's the Arabic name. And Anita said something, well, she's not here anymore, but she said something about Spanish being a Latinate language. Spanish is also a language that is heavily influenced by Arabic. So the rhythms, the inflections, and the vocabulary is very much there. So this book is a celebration of that peaceful coexistence, and it was written at a time of war and violence and conflict within the Abrahamic family. I'm going to read the poem that's the title poem, Baker of Tarifa. And it's called Baker of Tarifa because Tarifa is a city. It's named after the first Muslim who entered Iberia. His name was Tarif bin Malik. And it's a very small, beautiful city. And that's the import of the title. But this 800 years history is so long, and there's so much that happened, that I had to pick one metaphor that described the whole history, and that one metaphor I thought was bread, because it's such a basic human necessity that we all share, and it comes with a whole world of of the scent and the making of it, the sharing of it. It's a metaphor. It's a universal metaphor that's been used everywhere, from scripture to songs. Baker of Tarifa. Coals left over from breakfast will be enough. You'll need a cup of crushed almonds. Pistachios cost more than a bottle of Syrian perfume these days, so do without. Brown sugar and plenty of butter. Also an eye-cup of rose water for the filling. Mukavara means arena. Cut the bread neatly in that shape. Take care the dough has been softened with fresh milk. Sing what your mother sang while you fry the bread. So some of these poems are how-to poems, how to make bread and so on. And it's based on a lot of research from that period. And then some of these poems are in the voices of fictional characters based on this history, and some are based on the actual historical characters. So it's in three parts. The first part is a celebration of the convivencia. The second part is the conflicts that arose after a few hundred years. And the third part is about the collapse of this civilization, the Inquisition, and so on. So I'm going to read a poem that actually appears in the Activists Anthology with Urdu translation. This one's called The End of the War. I entered the city gates in a blindfold, led by nothing but the summer drift of fairy roses, the secret musk of books. How the market puffed up with flags and shrouds. For a few drachmas, I bought a shroud for my sword and buried it under the bitter almond tree. Next, I bought a pail of azaleas, a lamp, and a saffron mantilla, wrapped in which all night I watched ink silently make sparrows out of its dormant language. Morning broke on the page I was reading, and I let words fall into tightly woven nests, and I let illumination be the song. And this one's called The Stonemason's Son Contemplates Death. It was published in Poetry International a few years ago. So this poem is basically, now the book, this history is approaching the time of the Inquisition, and people are really scared. And that peaceful coexistence is falling apart. And so this is in the voice of a stonemason's son. Why stonemason? Because Al-Andalus, Spain, Andalusia today, is known for beautiful architecture and beautiful tiles, beautiful buildings. And there was this tradition to have a well, beautifully decorated tiles in public buildings like hospitals. And so, I mean, we're talking about the medieval times. There were public places like hospitals and like, places where people gathered, libraries and so on. And so there was this tradition of decorating the well with a prayer. And you'll hear something of that prayer in this poem. Because my heart, why is he contemplating death? He's contemplating suicide because of what is going on. The Inquisition is a brutal thing that they're all witnessing. This is a time where people are very fearful. Because my heart became akin, I wished to die. The inscription on the tiles made a prayer in butterfly script, crowning your well. May the water refresh your soul. The clanging of keys became loud. A soldier stood behind me, pissing in the well. Someone sang in the distance. Couldn't tell if she was a Jew, Christian, or Muslim. It was a devotional song. So some of these poems are really heavy and some are lighter. I wanted to end this book on a light note. And so I'm going to read this poem. That's the last poem in this book. Return of Happiness. And this is in the voice of Doe. Return of Happiness. I was Doe, running away in a baker's dream, all honeyed and rolling the morning sun into clammy skin. The day was steep and over before I made it far from the oven, far from the one who chased long out of breath. And I hid under the concrete, hid from the ants and the stray cat until flowers grew out of me. Feel the minutes crawling, the whiskers of time brushing past. I packed my heart in a clock for you. And this happens to be my first public reading from my memoir. So thank you, Jim. It's such a pleasure to be here reading for this series. And this is a hybrid book. It also got a prize for Best Hybrid Book from Sable Press. It has photographs, it has poems, it has lyric essays, fragments, ghazal, a pantoum, and also art by a British artist called Salma Collar. And it's quite an honor to for her to have agreed to include her art in my book. And what is this book about? It's about my childhood memories of the Cold War. I grew up in Pakistan, which borders Afghanistan. And the Soviet war in Afghanistan is my earliest memory of anything, because I was 5 years old when the war started. And we used to go to the border all the time, the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. It was anytime we had guests, my parents would all drive to the Khyber Pass. Khyber Pass is this legendary place where Alexander the Great came. He came through the Khyber Pass to conquer India, and from the east, the Buddha came, or his disciples came to spread Buddhism. So it's a very historical place. But I talk about my memories as a child growing up in those times. But I also talk about living in the US, living in San Diego, and so on. So this first piece I'm going to read is a short lyric essay. It's like a one-page lyric essay. Cardiff by the Sea. My hair smells of seaweed, wave after opalescent wave. My feet are boring through drenched Pacific sand, molding it into two shapeless urns. I have the sudden urge to dislodge and run away. Neither the ocean's unreeling nor its refrain of explosions will resolve. I'm 23, just married, bewildered at being suddenly halved and doubled. The ocean shimmers like so much spilled soda As a poet once said, who am I in this land of abundance? A beachcomber may find in my shin-deep urns what I haven't found, my essence. In essence, I may be a languid flamingo, an ancient copper samovar, a flautist's breath, an elk draped with an heirloom sari, a cobalt and yellow balustrade, a trapeze rope, a turtle singing to 7 generations of offspring, a spindle whirl wound with miles of ikat silk, a diacritic stroke on a Sufi's coffee-stained page. Wait, don't wait. There will be no occasion to explore my essence. Many years from now, while presenting at a literature festival in North Carolina, someone will ask about how or how much I share my spiritual quest in my work. My answer, is there a choice but to write in empire's language, language in which I'm forever a lurking shadow? One can only write about God if one comes to own words. From the cusp dividing countries and tongues, and from the cusp of divided selves, I write. Again, like with all of my other books, some poems and some pieces, some prose pieces are lighter, some are heavier. I'm going to read something that's a little on the lighter side. And this is a childhood memory. It's called, this subsection is called Chinese Acrobats at Peshawar Club. On an autumn night, starry and dewy and fairy-lit, I'm squeezing my mother's hand, a habit of mine as we take our seats on the lawn to watch an acrobatics show. I'm fascinated by her delicate sari, perfume, white gloves, and rings with which she lets me play until I drop one in the grass and manage to annoy her. The troupe of Chinese acrobats is stunning. I'm especially impressed by the agility and strength of the female acrobats, and I find that my eyes are not trained to follow motion so fast, or to parse the visual language of arms, torsos, legs, forming pedestals for others to stand on or to hang from. I will grow up to learn that womanhood is exactly this, a feat of acrobatics. The proverbial lifting, boosting, connecting, carrying, but mostly bending in innumerable ways, not spectacular or even visible, an apparatus with a secretly turbulent energy, fueling the constant mechanics of multifarious demands. We are taught to bear with silence, taught that silence is grace and grace is a dialect of might. And then there is the elaborate language of beauty with its myriad dialects, some used as rungs of hierarchy in an ever-evolving game of power and oppression, and some map a personal, inwardly ennobling journey of the spirit, an affirmation and celebration of the swirling music and color of the cosmos itself. I'm dazzled by the jeweled hair knots of the female acrobats. And the next is a visual poem that shows the acrobats act. The acrobat's hairpin is a landscape on a stick, precipice in Vera wood, color of meteor, carrion crow, wineberry, cascade in fortune green agate. For every bit of steel in her gut, she carries an exquisitely lipped plum blossom of spiraling gold enamel on her head, bows delicately ruptured, blushing with tourmaline flowers and a spray of coral, pearl, buds, the dark river of her spine. So I'm going to read another short passage from another essay. And this essay is called Chadar of the Heart. Chadar, as you know, is a veil. This essay was published by a different title in an online journal, and it was called Crying Like a Girl. And I changed it. I changed the title for the book, and you'll hear why it was called Crying Like a Girl. One autumn, I'm suddenly taller than my mother. The ecstasy of wearing her heels and blouses will, for an instant, distract me from the loss of inhabiting the innocence of a child's body. The 100 scents and stains of tumbling on grass, the anthills and hot, powdery breath of brick walls climbed, the textures of twigs and branches and wet doll hair and rubber bands, kite paper, and tamarind candy wrappers. That's the cicada-like sound of pencil sharpeners, the popping of Coca-Cola bottle caps, of cracking pine nuts in the long winter evenings, will blunt and vanish one by one. That the sensory life is dulled just as the cerebral life is intensified is no accident. At school, boys and girls are separated for a special talk on how the changing body requires a set of rules, a sense of restraint. The talk is grave and ends with alarming details of the impending burden of academic work that will make or break us. As if the process of adapting to a new life in a new body were not hard enough, we are told that we are under scrutiny for following the prescribed path of success, as well as for containing the challenges that gender poses. The body is as unforgiving as the social norms it finds itself in the clutches of. It is more often a tempest than a temple. Growing pains, at least for girls, must be strictly private. How you decipher and piece together the physical, emotional, and social puzzle of your life is entirely and urgently your own responsibility, and never without open and free scrutiny and judgment. The present is a perpetual shore to an ocean of future anxiety. There is no turning back. Without sisters or close female company, I am alone now in the space of being a girl, and I always will be as a woman. I wish to throw a tantrum. It is highly inappropriate for a girl to throw a tantrum. Thank you. Thank you for appreciating that. So I want at age 14 to cry in the voice of a 7-year-old boy, a good student, a mini law-abiding citizen who bawls with conviction, his sobs not inwardly tuned, but coming with perfect pitch and tempo, blasting like the sharp maneuvers of a well-formed argument or a fast car. And then I talk about whether I was successful in throwing a tantrum like that or not. So I'm going to end with a poem and find it. This poem is called Notes for a Combing Song. Shall we begin with a comb and an empty field? Jeweled grass, November sun, long-necked bottle of mustard oil. I'll never believe there is time enough to untangle from, tangle with our shadow selves. But let's try all the same. Bring a radio, a week's worth of the Frontier Post for drips. Bring a thermos of chai, a clear mind, some kind of winter halwa with blanched almonds, a namda rug, itchy, but as you know, its gigantic tawny maroon daisies and juicy green ferns are reminders that the universe has a big heart. It is tight-lipped, but true. Maybe you'll align shadow with shadow, cover my new periwinkle sweater with a towel before oiling and braiding my hair. Maybe you let the cats yowl in the distance, the cauliflower overcook, fill the dialer with marbles, let the phone ring. Thank you. Also the space bar for giving us the space. Thank you.
Thank you. Sit down, we can small up, please.
Thank you for coming up here and gracing the microphone. Thank you very much. And Shameen, we know your heart's better because when all that composition's going in the house, it's gotta help your heart to feel better. This is Shameen, that's her husband. Can we give him some love, please? Yeah. So if you look at our banner, we are in solidarity with a whole bunch of folks, and one of those is KNSJ. And we have the program person on KNSJ who's on Zoom right now. Her name is Marie Johnson. And I was just interviewed by this lady, Sue Taylor, who has a radio show on KNSJ. She's about ready to come up here. But Marie has an announcement that she would like to make about an event, an activity that's going on. So Marie, are you ready to tell everybody about what's happening with KNSJ?
Well, you're going to have Sue up next.
I am coming.
Why don't I defer to Sue?
With the appropriate fee, yeah. Go ahead, Marie.
Okay, I just wanted to let folks know that KNSJ originally had a poetry program, and Jim Moreno was the host of that and the producer. He became so involved with other activities and I think increased his social justice activist presence in the community. And Sue Taylor started a program that she calls the Electric Picnic. And I think it's a delightful title. Maybe she'll share with you how she came on that to name the poetry, spoken word and prose show that she hosts. And I would like to tell people that if they are interested in being on the Electric Picnic Poetry show, to put their contact information in chat, and then we'll contact them, sorry, and talk about that. Thank you very much.
So obviously you can't put anything in the chat if you're here having a hamburger, but you can talk to Sue after this is all over if you're interested in being on her show. She's really a strong interviewer. She really listens well, and then she lets you know how she's relating to what you're saying about your own life. And I really recommend this show very, very much. I also like to do some shameless self-aggrandizement. I have answered a mini grant by Poets and Writers Magazine to work with California veterans online. And we're in the third month of a 6-month mini grant. And every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, if you're a California veteran or a deported veteran, after some of these men and women have served our country, then they were deported. And we want to have, Pablo Neruda said, our job as poets is to be a voice for the voiceless. And I think if you'll think back about Shadab's poems, she was a voice for her ancestors, and she was a voice for some people who have no voice now. And I think that's really an important part of our job. And so we're hoping that, we're recording this. If you liked how you read today, Alfred will probably have it online several days from now. And you can see your performance. And if you want to send it to other people who might also like to come here, because as Jimmy said, we are hungry for community. And we want all of you to be here, and we want new brothers and sisters to show up too, from all cultures. And so that's what's going on. Can we give Alfred some more love for doing so much for us? So much for us. It really does. And so the other thing that's going on is San Diego Writers Inc. I'm doing a workshop for them on the 22nd. The 22nd of January is the Lunar New Year. And so I'll be doing poems from several cultures that have embraced the Lunar New Year, mostly from Asian cultures, Korea, Japanese, Vietnamese. And I'm going to feature in the second part of that workshop, I'm going to feature Thich Nhat Hanh, who was banished from Vietnam because of his peace efforts. And he was also banished by the United States. So his own country, the United States, banished him because he was a voice for peace. So I'll be featuring some of his poems as well. And if you would like to find more about the revolutionary San Diego Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and our next event is going to be in April, where it's National Poetry Month, but it's also the month of the child. And so we're going to work with Tony LeBoux, who was the director of the San Diego Veterans Museum, and we'll be blending poets for National Poetry Month, but also poetry about we want to respect children. We always want to respect children. So that'll be going on, and we'll have some announcements about that. I'd like to say that last month we had the Community Literature Initiative here. All these poets are all from Los Angeles, except for the chapter that they created here. And now we have she drove down here from LA last month, but now she's on Zoom. I guess it was important to save some gas money, huh, Carl? This is she is a facilitator. They do poetry classes for people of color, and they show them how to be published. And the CLI, as it's called, they have published over 350 people of color. And since they came into existence, Hiram Sims is their executive director. He'll be featuring next month for Black History Month. He'll be here to also read his poetry. But this is Carl Scar.
Oh, hi, everybody. Thank you, Jim, for that wonderful introduction. And I'm so excited to hear that Hiram's going to be featuring this next month. I'm definitely going to make the drive down there as long as I don't have work. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into this piece. This is a new piece that I wrote on New Year's Day with one of my writing groups, and it doesn't have a title yet. Okay. My river wants to start embracing what makes us whole. Tired of writing poems about our traumas because I don't want our traumas to define us. I want my river to take us to new destinations, places where we no longer fear the jagged rocks on our paths, but accept them as part of the journey. Sometimes we need sharpness to remind us that we are soft. My river wants to be filled with jumping fish, a boundless joy. I want to be grateful and not bitter. I want to be sweet, brimming with possibility. I want the pollution of my past to be in the past. I know it won't all be gone, not in this generation, but I can begin the process of filtering out what no longer serves us. My river flows with love and compassion, not fear and shame, gratitude and wonder, not judgment and criticism. My river flows because that's what a river does. My river is more powerful than I know, its strength witnessed by how it carves its way forward. It does not stop for anyone, not when it believes in itself, not when it's fed by the miracles of clouds. My river is the same river that flowed when the T-Rex dipped its snout in its holy abundance. My river is ancient, a wisdom carrying what cannot be taught in schools, a wisdom my pen tries to capture onto the page, a wisdom of my ancestors. I am here because of their choices, and I am here because my river flows with the sacred power of generations, with the strength of my grandmothers, with wind underneath a crow's wings. My river lives in my veins. My river is sacred and holy and alive as the trees and everything below and above. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm just going to share that one piece. And I'm just going to say I've been really loving all this wonderful poetry tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carl. I know you're all asking, how can someone in ninth grade be an instructor for CLI? But she's a lot older than she looks. All right. And thank you for being with us today. So, Sue Taylor, very strong poet, very amazing program that he has on KNSJ. And I was offered to be a co-partner with her, but I just couldn't do it. But she's doing fine on her own. This is Sue Taylor.
Well, I speak a little Spanish and no Urdu, if that is a spoken language, but I speak Valley Girl. And that means I'm Dane. And my cheerleader, former prom princess, Prasanna, is afraid to show you my 6 missing teeth. I had to have 6 teeth extracted the week of Christmas. So I don't know, should I do it or not?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's so embarrassing.
We can hear you better. Do that.
Okay, they're promising me this kind of appliance, but it's somewhere in the lab. So yeah, when Marie contacted me about being the host of the Electric Picnic or of a radio program on KNSJ, she said, do you want to do a 5-minute spot? And then it was going to be a 30-minute spot with a co-host. And now it's an hour. So the first 55 minutes, I interview poets and they read their work. In the last 5 minutes, I speak about other poets and I read my poems. But I've been so privileged. I've had Chris Vanoy on the show. Chris Ernest Nelson has been on. Jim Moreno, Joe Malash. Just so many other people who reside in San Diego and others who don't. But I do have to leave after this. So in order to get in touch too, if you would like to be a guest poet on the show, you can go to info@knsj.com. KNSJ, you remember that because the SJ is social justice. So I'm going to try to list through this. How much time do we have, Jim? I feel like
two poems or 5 minutes.
2 poems. I think I can do it in 5 minutes. I'm going to start with one of the heaviest poems. I too have been thinking about gun violence in this country. I'm active with San Diegans for gun violence prevention. And this is a poem I wrote April 18th, 2022. 3 or more. How many deaths define a mass shooting? Not so many as you think. 3 or more on American soil, though Australia calls it 5. 3, 5? Really? That doesn't sound like a lot of dead people. Except when it's your brother, my son, our teen girls, getting their ears pierced at Claire's in Westfield Shopping Center. I'm angry about 2 17-year-olds gunned down at a party in Philly. Like, why did their parents let these children go there? But in the end, it doesn't matter. The teens are dead. 2 of a mass shooting Easter Sunday. Today, their teachers and schoolmates look around. Those 2 faces are missing in the classroom. South Carolina mall shoppers look over their shoulders into the doorways of closed stores and shops. One of those mass shooting victims last week was just trying to buy a backpack for an upcoming short vacation. A backpack that would have been screened on a TSA conveyor belt. The wearer patted down because he was wearing baggy pants. Guns in cars, in jackets, in bags, in pockets, garages, bedrooms, on tops of refrigerators. gun safes left unlocked, whereabouts unclocked, common sense quite blocked, love for neighbor mocked. 3 or more, or 600 semi-annually. Even one, no match for 100 guns, means blood pools on the ground, our sisters and our sons. This is a lighter poem. I'm an English teacher. Why I teach grammar, and if you've ever tried to teach a non-native speaker about the idiocy of English prepositions, you'll understand. We be from the boondocks, lost in the tulies, down in the bayou, over yon under, across the pond. Soaked from the downpour, above the clouds, over the moon, Alice in Wonderland, down the rabbit hole. Eating shrimp from the Barbie, down under, neither here nor there. Just where the hell are we? Okay, back to heavy. I'm having quite the love affair with my dog now of one. He's 4 years and I've had him a year and a half. His name is Duffy. And I take Duffy to Fiesta Island quite regularly. And I did my other dog, Baby. And Baby died a couple of years ago. Fiesta Island. The island is bleak these days. Its 3 trees, oddly erect in the soil, seem starker and more lonely than ever before. In the spring, the grass is low and green, spread across the few acres, but the remains in mid-September are flattened, twisted twigs like so many discarded toothpicks. The dogs don't care. They walk and stop. They find the residue no less aromatic than fresh grass. They sniff and walk on. On Fiesta Island, there is the high ground and the beach, which is gingerly accessed by a few downward sloping footpaths. I call them paw paths. Most of the dogs are there playing in the wet sand, testing the waters, and checking out the other hounds and pups. At 4 p.m. in this month, the sun is reflected on the ripples of black-blue water, and the humans shield their eyes from the glare. The dogs seem unfazed. Braver and more able swimmers splash out in the tide, briny and panting. Some timid dogs dabble, but don't go far out. Dinner at home calls the humans, and they leave through the gate, get in their cars, and drive away. They leave their beloved fur friends on the beach and don't look back. At nightfall, the dogs move from beach to bluff. They make a circle and settle it in, preparing for sleep. Most will nod off, but others will shake themselves awake from whimpering dreams. They will attempt to sleep again, but cannot resist the urge to keep at least one eye open. The night is starless and no moon illumines the island. At daybreak, some dogs do yoga stretches and venture down to the beach. They're thirsty, they're hungry. Salt water cannot satisfy them, and there's nothing to eat. A few chase seagulls, but most just walk, not knowing where they are headed. Suddenly, the dog's ears are alerted to the sound of a distant engine. All the dogs descend and look northward, interested in the vibrations and punky waves. A Great Dane is first to spot the white hull of a boat coming to where the dogs are. Then, more out and inboard motors break in. Humming, buzzing, approaching. The dogs start to jump and bark. If able, they would have high-fived each other. 20 feet from shore, the boat engines cease. The people on board shout and wave their hands in baseball caps. Boomer, Fred, we're back. Even the most water-weary dog plunges into the salty stuff and swims its heart out, straining for the right boat, for the right person. That voice that had gone away the night before. Once on deck, the dogs and people rejoice. and the boats reversed direction. They moved toward dock and home. The next autumn, the people will bring their dogs back to Fiesta Island for an Indian summer stroll. A few of the dogs are the same, a year older, little changed. They remember last year's dark night spent on the dirt, and they stay close to their owners. Some dogs do not return. They have died and exist in a friendlier place, a greener land with more trees, fresh water, and delicious food. The lucky ones are with their humans in that place. It will grow cool and dark at night, and daybreak will echo the lapping waves. Some boat will announce its coming, and come boomer will be heard again. Fiesta Island can be quiet or can be almost silent and crowded. These dogs will always want to return year after year as long as they can. A real quick funny one. Okay. I'll read the Nancy dog. I want to shout out to Frank Moody, proprietor. This was embarrassing to carry up here. Look at that. Got some ice, got a whole cup of ice, and very good. $7. I recommend the cell phone. It's worth it. And a plain bagel.
That's Susan Taylor. Can we give her some love, please? I've heard our next poet's name for years and years and years. He introduced himself to me as Ish, but it's Ishmael von Hidrick Barnes. And if you've been around San Diego, I've been here since '79. You've seen this name published over and over again in small journals, in big journals, and I've always been impressed by how he writes. Please give him some love. This is Ishmael von Hidrick Barnes.
We'll take your words of tallness for what they're worth. I'm very happy to be here. I grew up in this neighborhood. It's nice to be back, and nice to hear my sister, poet Shadab Reed. Her first book, Baker of Tarifa, inspired me to go on a pilgrimage of a kind down to Granada and the Alhambra. And unfortunately, when I got to the Alhambra the second day, I got COVID. But out of that came this poem. And, you know, there's some poems I feel like we write, but there's some that we receive, and this feels like one that I received. It's called Finding Lorca. The gypsy sun rolled up his tent and slipped through palace walls before fever found me inside an Alhambra hotel. I shivered beneath heavy blankets that pressed my body into a mattress of stone that made breathing a labor. That night, I drifted between the unmarked ground of consciousness and delirium, alone except for Federico Garcia Lorca, who sat in my bed and talked stanzas into my sleep, cantos that proved love cannot be buried in a mass grave. When I woke after lockdown, Lorca was missing. I changed my sweat-soaked t-shirt and coughed up a bullet. I dedicate that to Shadab.
Thank you.
We hope you come back again. Thank you for coming today. So our next poet is, I think this is his first time here. Soft Boy, is this your first time here? Okay, so this is more than once he's been here. This is Soft Boy Mumble.
You? Hello, everybody. I wasn't gonna do this, but I saw everybody's hands go up for Spanish. And in fact, right, in Spanish, it is my first language. So here goes. Flores y el olor a lluvia te siguen cuando entras donde sea. Amo tu costumbre de leer cada esquina del lugar donde habitas, sonriendo, cual si Dios te contó un chiste que nomás tú te sabes. Tu forma de ser, la manera que vives, encandila a todos. Todo tu alrededor se enamora de ti. La luz misma te regresa el cariño, te besa la carita, brinda vino rosa a tus labios. El tiempo se desliza ante tu voz. Las horas son gotas que derraman mi vaso cada vez que estamos juntos. Thank you. I won't translate it, so I assure you it's really, really beautiful. Learn some Spanish, please. No, just kidding. Thank you. I wrote this one Christmas Day, this past Christmas Day. I was very lonely on Christmas Day because I'm Mexican and I celebrate the 24th. So all our family dispersed after the 24th. So it wasn't that sad. I had my alone time. This is what came out of it. Tides of dead leaves cascade down the empty street, following the cars that long ago sped through derelict intersections. Traffic lights that turn green for nobody to cross 30th Street. It is so quiet you can hear the hollow click of light bulbs, serving a purpose, a God-given duty. Yellow to red, back to green. The clicks in between, like loading clips, or soldiers marching in step, following close behind the tides of leaves, barely forming baby whirlpools for seconds, then they degrade their trajectory, continue down ghost town streets, filling the nooks and crannies of North Park. Christmas was on a Sunday this year, 82 and sunny. North Park was no proper place for a godless heathen, much less one with daddy issues in a swelled up heart. The clouds, white and pure, like cocaine in 2008, hung there, anime style, slowly pushing eastward, towards home, towards the cold, dirty mountains. But my naked eyes couldn't tell. So I stood very still on the empty street, letting dead leaves put around my feet, trying to open up my teary eyes wider to let in all the beauty and majesty. But it never filled me. It pulled around my feet too, dripping out of tiny holes that I can't see but I can feel pouring. Glory, I can see but not comprehend. A breeze that hums summer tunes in the dead of winter. Dry leaves crackling louder than thunder with much more intention, like dying trees whispering their daily day. Soft sunlight suspending all of existence in syrupy amber, taking a snapshot, making the ephemeral eternal, so we can smudge it with our grubby poetry. This is all lost on me as the beauty sips through my hands, letting the grain of sand escape back to the sea while I'm waiting for anybody to text me back. Thank you.
Yeah. Well done, brother.
Soft boy, when you were reading, Alfred takes me to neat places to eat, and he had this look on his eyes were closed, and he had this look on his face like we're at this place that serves great chicken marsala. It just was really wonderful. So, are you getting your money's worth today? Is everybody doing okay? This is good. This is good. All right. We have a new poet for today, and she was looking at the books that were over there on the table, and I just walked up and found out this is her first time here, and she lives in La Mesa. So let's give a warm second Sunday love to Madison Victoria.
I feel a little out of place reading the poetry from my phone, but that's where they are right now. So I've been told that it is helpful to have a sort of ritual when beginning something new or just doing anything new. Something repeatable, familiar. And for going to a new space for their open mic, I have a particular poem that I like to share every time, first time I go. And it is about my mother. I love her deeply, but I have a very complicated relationship with her. So it's called Oh Mother. My mother, still so beautiful, even as her roots reflect the soil, as her gut swells with undigested instinct, and as her teeth gray and rot and fall. My lovely mother, ruled by Murphy's Law and the moon, whose life moves something like an electron, like its quantum, her intent and actions like position and momentum. My desperate daughter's concern, another worry unknowingly written by Heisenberg. My mother, whose skin is littered with scars and suburban shrapnel, the strength of her own blood is her kryptonite. Sleepwalking mother, as distant as she is present, keeping a promise only barely, the little engine who could. Pretty, pretty princess, forever 15, arrested development, the little rose on her ass. Another birthday card written on a napkin, another goodie bag gift stolen from thieves, another man, just another drug, a love bomb, a screaming match, a failed romance, a dead friend. Meth as medicine for how her angel body recoils so far from heaven. Immortal and immune to human disease, she can't trust home, she can't trust earth, even as she's steeped in its dirt. Breathing in its fire and flora like a jaded dragon, eyes red and weeping with the rain. Hoarding every space she claims, even if it's just the distance between her shoulders, carrying home on her back. Her aura, pulsing mania, turning her Sakura into Sanskrit and her Sanskrit into slurring. Oh, mother, your little girl in another hotel thinking vacation, not prostitution. Your little girl snuck through the casino thinking arcade, not addiction. Oh, mother, what do I say to this boy? How should I do my hair? Why do I think this way? Has there always been rape? Where are you now? Where have you been? Who were you then? Do I cry like you? Do I fight like you? Do you know that man? Why is he here? Why are you talking to him and not me? Mommy, why are you running from me? Why am I running from me? Mommy, I'm sorry. You're sorry. I love you. Wow. So this next one, I recently went on a week-long trip to Joshua Tree, and I wrote 2 poems while there. The first one is really short. It's called Desert Clergy. Small dead yuccas convene, poised, bending softly. Shrouded nuns praying over the fallen, the arid. They bow their heads. Their muted brown locks sweeping dust onto dust, sulking slowly, warmly into their own. This next one has a bit of a long title. It's We cut up our hands and ask, where do we go from here? Stigmata, foreplay, quartz in the wound. Sensual for a mountain is unfathomable. Love beneath the crust is crushing. Movement, forces grinding, bone into bone, immortal into immovable, volcanic, an eldritch horror. But a human touch is barely there. A fallen body makes no difference at all. Can man love a mineral? Can a mineral make man feel safe? With the sun on our back and our palms on granite, we vice grip cooled magma and call it mother. We offer blood and ask to be let in again. I bow my head against the stone quagmire. It knows me already. I say a prayer to the rock. It heard my death before I was born. Thank you.
This is why we're in good shape when we're all gone. Give her some more love. Ask the lady to write a poem. Please come back. Please come back. That was good stuff. Ooh, that was good for my heart. I'm gonna have to take my nitro now. I'm a Navy veteran. I was in Vietnam in the rivers, and the next poet is also a Navy veteran, and he's come to read us over time about his son, which is your grandson, who's also deployed right now. We want to remember our veterans. There's 22 veterans every day in our country committing suicide. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this poetry workshop. This man knows how to write and he knows how to perform. This is David Legenhurst.
David. Everybody, and this is why I'm here. It says all abilities. That's why Jim. That's why Jim lets me. Thank you, Jim. And an update on my grandson Ryan. He's out of the Army. Good. Congratulations. He completed his tour. He was, when I was talking about him before, he was in the Middle East in an 8-month deployment, most of that time in Syria. And so the grandparents were a little worried for quite a while. But now he's back. He decided to live in Colorado. That's where he is. So he gets a job as an armed security guard. Oh. The grandparents can relax again. Okay, just a couple of little short things here. Several years ago, I was in therapy, and the driver of the van that I was on had just immigrated here from Iraq with his family, and his greeting wasn't an unusual greeting, but it really got to my heart. There's a greeting in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum. That means peace be unto you, a sentiment for all, not some. If only we could take this phrase as a commandment for us all, the world would be a magic place when mankind heeds the call. And peace breaks out around the globe for all living things respect, where every life is valued. Those beliefs we hold correct. I know this sounds impossible, that the world will soon become a place where everyone believes. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, yes. I changed this from, I used to say almost 80 times, now it's 80 times. So. This is Reflections. I've ridden this blue marble around the track now 80 times. So much drama, so many events. Some stand out in color. A war was stopped by splitting atoms and vaporizing people. A man with a purpose kept children breathing. No patent, no profit. Yes. Men gathered rocks from the Garden of Selene. And music rocked Woodstock. An iron curtain succumbed to rust. A president inspired youth. Then he was shot. A shepherd shared his dream. Then he was shot. Segregation vanished. 9/11. Unending war. People vote, minority wins, narcissism rules. A nation of laws remembered. The blindfold removed. The scales tilted. The 246-year experiment dissolves. Oh boy. Didn't get a new one. That's all.
Okay, we're down to our last poet, and I want to thank you for hanging out with us. Jack, are you in here? Jack W. This is your first time with us, sir? It is, yeah. So let's give him a warm second Sunday welcome. First time on the microphone. This is Jack W.
Let's hope.
have that effect on me. Thanks for having me. I just have one for you folks today. It's a new one. Kind of long, so maybe I'll do two. We'll see. It's really way back. This one is about the internet and advertising and data tracking on it. It is yet to be titled. This newest house of the rising sun, that everlasting time sink that draws one and all to waste away their moments, has by its virtue of existing only in the digital begun to show signs of dilapidation adjunct to the immateriality of its edifice. All too eager to deny its allegations of an impending demise, the servos and circuits strain inaudibly to keep us planted right where the advertising sections of about 600 corporations want us. But it's visible nonetheless, that great big ball rolling back downhill. Even if you aren't looking, you can feel the wind brush past your face. The potential energy concentrates self and becomes kinetic. And we're left to ride that wave of momentum downward. Downward, resting on our haunches. Gravity takes the load for us. And still imperceptible. I got bad handwriting here, folks. I'm sorry. Still imperceptible. The electronics flex their beautifully rounded muscles, Apollonian figures sculpted to perfection, and bend their arms at precise 33-degree angles. Holding the crank, their veins bulge as they throw it, sending signals, train whistles, to the screen to part its Dionysian lips and make visible to us its insides, that MacGuffin light emanating from therein, from outside of ourselves, from the palms of our hands, casts its rays upwards onto our faces, or perhaps downwards onto our faces if we so happen to be reclining, and glosses over our features in the dark. The topography of our skulls casts shadows over our eye sockets. The skull reveals itself to any onlookers who aren't similarly distracted. It triggers the same part of our brain that gets excited by strip clubs and casinos, where the plastered ceilings have long since cracked. The dancers are now huddled in a booth, looking at their phones, fighting boredom, riding gravity. The momentum is keeping us planted.
Yes, yeah.
I got one more for you. I read this recently at another open mic that I frequent, Poets Underground. It's about rocks, and it's also about the rest of your life. To set the scene, khaki tan dirt, sagebrush, rounded rocks of a riverbed long since run dry, long since the last gentle trickle of water called out to any living thing within a mile of earshot. And so it's become a boring life for the stones, stuck on the highway, but it's okay. They feel time differently. By the hand of their great age, the sun runs circles so fast behind the moon it'd make your head spin. The stars, like lane lines, appear solid in recognition of the speed. The life around them waxes and wanes, casting shadows, but the stones don't care. Focused only on their singular dumb mission to become sand and then to be taken by the sea. Only the best gunfighters can die in hospital beds.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Jack. This table over here, can we give love to that table right over there? South Boy, Jack, Madison. You know, I read an article, I think it was in The Nation magazine, that says that this political shape that we're in right now, one of the things that needs to start happening is the elders need to start reaching out to the youth. Yeah. And we need to start connecting with the youth. So I'm reaching out to you to come back and read to us some more. And then we're going to be in better shape because of you. Our generation screwed it all up. Your generation, I'm serious, your generation, with all the young scientists, all the young writers and everything, you're going to fix this global warming and we're going to help you. So please come back and connect with us. All right. So have you had enough? Are you tired of being with us?
Not yet.
Because I got the last 2 poems for today. And this is, I was in juvenile hall this morning and I was talking to this little girl named Cindy. And she said she was doing some visual art. I was assisting a visual artist and she was doing some art with by this man named Haring. And so I asked the girl, I'm a poet and would you like to write a poem about your art? And she said, well, I have a poetry journal. I said, oh, could I maybe see some of the poems? So she asked one of the guards, can I go to my room? They don't call it a cell now, they call it a room. And so she got her poem. So I read this poem and I said, would I have your permission to read this to an open mic I'm going to be doing in La Mesa? She said, yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that? So this is Cindy's poem. And then I'm going to read you my response to Cindy's poem. This is called Roommate. She kicks and screams, not wanting to leave. He said he loves me, but she tells me not to believe. She hit and punches me, always wanting to fight. Sometimes she even blinds my sight. She shows me things that really aren't there. Shadow figures that like to stare. She even whispers things gross and mean, trying to make me believe that that's the real me. Sometimes she disappears like she's playing hide and seek. But then she comes back, making it hard for me to speak. So, oh no, it's hard to breathe. She's making it difficult to see. I'm shaking so much. I can't walk. I can barely stand. She's telling me it's too late. It's time to give up. I don't want to believe her, but I think I'm about to erupt. I try to count to 3. It's getting easier to breathe. But all I hear is her laughing, telling me this is just the beginning. I look in the mirror and I hate what I see. She screams and tells me I'm fat and ugly. I try to block her out and tell her to leave me alone. It feels like there's always 2 people claiming my home. 15 years old.
Brandon Chesmet wants to make an announcement.
Okay, after we're done.
Okay.
This is called When Winter Speaks. Thank you for coming and being with us today. Thank you for all of you.
Thank you, Jen.
I'm waiting to learn what winter has to teach me. I'm waiting for snow to cool all hate and ignorance. When snow falls silently, may hate and ignorance go silent to peace. I'm waiting for quacks of ducks to swim to swans and sing healing songs for my mother, the earth. I'm waiting for electric cars to be the norm. Millions will cool the fevers of Mother Earth. Her dome will no longer be hot to the touch. I'm waiting for the gray whales to bless this and every Yule time, so war will be a nightmare of only the past. I'm waiting for more youth and women to vote, so my nation will have laws that protect sacred sentences between women, their bodies, and their doctors. I'm waiting for the goose steppers to have consequences for ordering children to be in cages. I'm waiting for my nation to harvest a year of peace. You see, the winter is always speaking to us, always teaching. The winter time is a good time to use all we have harvested. What seeds of love and kindness did you plant in the spring? God bless you. See you next month. Yeah, one announcement. One announcement on Zoom. Is that Brandon? So Brandon Samant from Cal State San Marcos wants to talk to you for a second.
No, I don't have an announcement. I was just listening. Really enjoyed it, Jim. Thank you for all you do.
Okay, thank you.
We hang out. If you want to hang out, you want to talk to a poet about their inspiration, can we give Shadab some more love, please? We don't have to all rush out the door. We just hang out a little bit. And thank you for coming. We'll see you next month.
Thank you, Jim.